Yaffee program on WVNN.
All right, so Yes Work Yaff-sember continues. I think that sounds right. So Dale Jackson, as you know, does the morning show before me. He's been taken off. No work Dale-sember is what he calls it. Well, I mean, I ran out of vacation days. Let's be honest here. So it's Yes Work Yaff-sember because of that. Although we'll be off the next couple of days. But I'm here today, and that means you can help me. You can tell me. Text in on the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. I want you to tell me what you think the biggest stories of the year were. Now, I have a couple of guests coming up on the show, and I'm going to ask them as well. We got Steve Abramowitz. He is with the Heartland Journal. He's going to join me at the bottom of the hour. And the legendary Will Hampson will join me later on in the show. He is the official DC insider of the Yaffee program. I'm going to ask him, but basically I'm going to break it down like this. Go over what I think the biggest story was nationally for the year, the biggest story internationally for the year, the biggest story in Alabama for the year, and the biggest story in Huntsville for the year. And later on, I also want to go over some of the biggest mistakes from the year in the news. People either in the Trump administration or in the news in general who really screwed up at some point this year. So we'll go over all of that on the Yaffee program. Yes, I will have the Alabama bullet points to kind of keep up with what's going on today. And later on, I think we'll go over what stories were trending the most when we do What's Trending. And by the way, speaking of that, Walker is here producing once again. Walker, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's, got any fun plans for New Year's?
I'm going to be seeing my old roommate in Nashville.
Oh, so are you going to do anything? Are you just going to be at their house? Or are you actually going to go like downtown or something? Like what?
I know that we'll be going to one of her other friends' places for a couple hours to watch the ball drop.
Okay, so you're not going to brave going downtown Nashville on New Year's Eve?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know if I would shake in fear just thinking about taking my daughter Evie to something like that.
Oh,
She would be gone. She would be gone forever. But yeah, can you find 5 of the top trending stories from the year? That's your assignment for the show. We'll do it later on when we do What's Trending.
Sure thing.
There's got to be something. By the way, do you have the audio ready?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So, and by the way, people, let me know. Text in what you think. I'll just start with, and I know I've said some of this before, but the biggest story nationally, unfortunately, it's not a good story, although there is a good part to it, if that makes sense. But the biggest story nationally has to be the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I mean, you could say possibly Trump inaugurated again. That's a big deal. Been a lot of other stuff in the news that is a big deal. You could talk about the government shutdown. That's up there. You could talk about the border. I mean, if you want to talk about the biggest political success of the year, it's got to be the border and Trump actually being able to stop the flow of illegal immigrants into the country. But the biggest story nationally has to be the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the impact that has had. Now, unfortunately, you would think it would have had an even bigger impact when it comes to political civility, toning down the rhetoric. That has not happened, which was predictable. But you do have a lot of young conservatives, a lot of people, I think, especially young people, entering into politics, wanting to get involved to make a difference for the conservative movement because of what happened. But you also have a part of the crazy online world, the spread of conspiracy theories, which has led to some conservatives well, I guess some division there in the conservative movement. Now, if you can, Walker, go in and play Trump on Charlie Kirk. I know there was a Trump Charlie Kirk cut. Play that. This is just kind of a reminder. This is when he made the statement to the nation about Charlie Kirk's death. Go and play that cut for me.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much.
So that, we remember when that happened, really had a huge impact on the country. But in terms of maybe something positive out of something so horrible, was the fact that they had that memorial service in Arizona. Millions of people watching, streaming on YouTube or watching wherever online, and thousands of people showing up for his memorial service. And you know what it was? Most of the service wasn't political. It wasn't about our political divides. I mean, that was part of it. But it was basically a giant worship service and a call to bring this country back to God and to faith. So if there's a silver lining anywhere in this horrific story, it's that. So you have the biggest story nationally, the negative part of it, a huge tragedy, and a political figure being assassinated for just political debate on a college campus. Millions of people, unfortunately, around the world saw it with their own eyes. But then you have this statement from Erica Kirk, which I think in the long run of history will have an even bigger impact for our country. Go and play the Erica Kirk cut for me.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men, just like the one who took his life. That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
So in terms of what had the most impact, the biggest story nationally, Charlie Kirk being assassinated. But having the most impact has got to be the fact that Erica Kirk was able to forgive the person who did it and is really focused on the fact that Charlie Kirk, beyond wanting to spread conservatism in the country, wanted to spread the gospel. It has been used to spread the gospel, which is a really good thing. So I would say that's the biggest story nationally. Now, looking at the biggest story internationally, and maybe you agree or disagree with me. Like I said, you can tell me on the text line, 866-494-9866. The biggest story internationally has got to be when Trump bombed the Iranian nuclear facility. And it's kind of related, but Trump negotiating a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel that resulted in all the hostages being released. There was a time where I thought that would have been impossible to get all of the hostages out. And yet that happened. No one thought at the end of the day that was going to be possible. And Trump got it done. And he really does, if this holds, I think he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for it. They'll never give it to him. I mean, knowing the committee, they might give it to Hamas. I mean, honestly, as crazy as that sounds. But, there was some breaking news on this yesterday. So President Trump actually met with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, talking about, kind of a warning to Iran that if they try to build up again, he's just going to bomb them again. So go ahead if you can. Play Trump cut 1. Trump 1 for me, Walker.
Now I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them, but hopefully that's not happening. They're looking at other sites. That's what I've heard. They're looking. So it'll take a long time. They're not going to go back to where they were, but they have other places they can go. And if they're doing that, they're making a big mistake.
So he's saying, and there was another cut where I heard earlier where he said, I hope Iran doesn't do it. I hope Iran doesn't rebuild because we would have to hit him again, and I don't want to waste the fuel, was his response, which is a great response. So if you're looking, though, at the biggest story internationally, there's a lot that has happened, but that's got to be the big one. That's got to be the big one. And so obviously Trump, you'll notice a theme that in a lot of these stories, Trump is dominating, and that's just because that's the world we live in. Trump is going to dominate a lot of the news cycle. He just does. But a little bit later on, I want to go over, we'll focus more on Alabama, and we'll focus on Huntsville because we do have some stories in Alabama and Huntsville that we'll talk about, the biggest stories of the year. We'll also have Steve Abramowitz at the bottom of the hour. He's going to talk about the biggest stories nationally, what he thinks, nationally, internationally, in Alabama, and in Tennessee, because he's out of Tennessee. So we'll talk to him about that. Much more to get to on the Yaffee program, the Alabama Bullet Points, coming up next. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
Hey, everybody. I'm Michael Strahan, and St. Jude has been close to my heart for many years. Their groundbreaking research is changing how the world treats childhood cancer and has helped push the survival rate in the U.S. from 20% to more than 80%. Please help St. Jude give children the greatest gift, a chance at a lifetime.
This holiday, help St. Jude find more cures for more children. Donate now at musicgives.org.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. It's the last Yaffee program of the year of 2025, and I want to get your take on what you think the top stories are from the year, whether nationally, internationally, politically, in Alabama, in Huntsville, and maybe some of the biggest mistakes by people in the news from the year. So you can tell me that on the text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. Right now, let's get to some current news. We have those Alabama bullet points.
Alabama Bullet Points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
Brought to you by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, Congressman Barry Moore blames liberals for the extensive fraud that was found in Minnesota. That's right, U.S. Representative Barry Moore, who is also a candidate for the U.S. Senate, accused Democrats in power of deliberately ignoring widespread fraud in Minnesota, claiming that liberals looked the other way while billions in taxpayer dollars were allegedly stolen through fake children and welfare programs. Now, a lot of this started in during COVID. In a December 29th social media post, Moore credited independent journalist Nick Shirley and local investigator David for exposing the scheme, including a striking discovery of over $110 million in fraudulent activities tied to the Minnesota child care facilities in a single day. They think it might total $9 to $10 billion in fraud over this. So Barry Moore is right, I think. Number 3 today, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services sends $203 million to Alabama for Rural Health Transformation Program. That's right, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has awarded Alabama $203 million in its first-year funding under the Federal Rural Health Transformation Program, a 5-year, $50 billion national initiative that was established by the One Big Beautiful Bill, which was signed by President Trump in July. Now, this was announced this week, part of awards to all 50 states. It aims to improve healthcare access, quality, and outcomes in rural areas by supporting state-led initiatives. Now, this will be administered by the Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs. Alabama's approved plan includes 11 priorities, such as a collaborative electronic health records effort, maternal and fetal health, mental health services, and much more. Number 2 today, Representative Rex Reynolds out of the Alabama legislature says we'll be ready for the fast-paced Alabama legislative session. So State Representative Rex Reynolds out of Huntsville, chairman of the General Fund Budget Committee, discussed the upcoming fast-paced Alabama legislative session beginning January 16th. Now, in a recent interview, he emphasized readiness for a compressed calendar, preparation for a conservative general fund budget amid tighter fiscal conditions, despite ending the 2025 fiscal year with a 3.4% surplus. So they had some money, extra money. He also talked about continued oversight of opioid settlement funds, including an expected $40 million appropriation for prevention, treatment, and recovery efforts that have already contributed to significant reductions in overdoses and prescriptions. He highlighted the process of rural health, which we talked about, and so they're hoping to get a lot done in the next session. Number 1 today, Alabama among the top 10 moving destinations for 2025. That's right, Alabama ranked number 9 among the top inbound moving destinations in the U.S. for 2025. Now, this is according to United Van Line's National Mover Study. The state saw 57% of moves being inbound compared to 43% being outbound, continuing a 6-year trend of net population gain through migration. Now, this also reflects a broader national shift as people relocate from the Northeast and the Midwest to more affordable and warmer southern states. Now, the top inbound states include Oregon, West Virginia, South Carolina, Delaware, and Minnesota, with Alabama landing just ahead of Nevada at number 10. Now, primary reasons for moving to Alabama were being closer to family, job opportunities, and retirement, with over half of new arrivals earning above $150,000 a year. So, not too surprising. We've seen a lot of economic growth and economic opportunity in Alabama, and people are moving here because of it. All right, so we went over the top story nationally and internationally. We'll talk about the top stories in Alabama and more. And I want to get your take on the text line, so tell me 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. We'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
The Yaffee program.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. We're back here on the Yaffee program. The last Yaffee program of the year, 2025. Glad you're with me, though, going over the top stories of the year. Joining me right now is Steve Abramowitz. He is the founder, contributor of the Heartland Journal. You can read that at heartlandjournal.com. He's out in Nashville. Steve, how are you, sir?
Hello, and Happy New Year to y'all. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. I wanted to bring you on because, I mean, you're like me. You're a news junkie. And I thought, he's definitely got to have an opinion on these things. So I'll just kind of go through each one and see what you think. What do you think the biggest story was nationally in the U.S.?
Well,
for the year?
I think for local, as far as I am, I've been wearing Hawaiian shirts and suntan lotion all month. It's been so warm this Christmas, so much for dreaming of a white Christmas this year, which definitely beats the ice storm my first year here. But I think the biggest story that is kind of overlooked but matters is in the House of Representatives, the Tulsi Gabbard of the Congress, in my opinion. I mentioned Tulsi because, in my opinion, she's Trump's best cabinet pick, way better than Pam Bondi. Anyway, it's Anna Paulina Luna from Florida, Air Force veteran, Messianic Jewish Christian like me, but that's not why. So she's trying to force a vote on a bipartisan bill that would ban members of Congress from trading individual stocks. And so after 40 plus years of Nancy Pelosi and guys like Dan Crenshaw and Tennessee's Mark Green beating Warren Buffett year over year at the stock market, getting rich while their voters get killed by inflation and big tech data centers moving into people's garages, I think that and term limits would change how DC thinks and operates and spends, which would be the biggest story of not just this year, but Trump's 4 years. Also, she's the one leading the charge and is hopeful Congress will codify President Trump's executive order on capping prescription drug prices next year. Americans pay a big markup on drugs to subsidize the rest of the world's cheaper versions of the same pills, so that would help cost of living a lot. And if it's true, we've been in World War III in Ukraine. She's the only one I've been seeing slamming Democrats for opposing President Donald Trump's efforts to broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, or peace in our time. I'm convinced that the money we've wasted there and the fraud in Minnesota, Maine, and Ohio now to Somalia are the root of our inflation here. So end those two and hopefully not replace them with two more things, and prices will come down. And gold and silver are screaming at us to knock it off. She's the one. So it sets the stage for Trump's last year in office before a new Congress and becoming a lame duck. So if Speaker Johnson and Thune would help, we'd be sitting pretty in 2026.
Okay, so to you, it sounds like that's more of the most overlooked story than the biggest story that maybe got the most attention. Am I hearing you right?
Oh, yeah, pretty much, because that's what I do. I try to be a contrarian, and when we're looking at $40 trillion of debt and, more interest per year on the debt than we pay out in Social Security, those are big, huge stories, and these are the roots, trying to get it fixed. These are the people. So there's only one that I can point out. She just happens to be from Florida, Anna Paulina Luna. Story of the year for me.
Okay, that's a good one. You're right. It's not talked about enough. I know that there were some that were trying to force a vote in terms of banning insider trading, and it doesn't ever seem to go anywhere. So what about, that was nationally. What about internationally? You had mentioned a little bit of Ukraine stuff there, but what do you think the biggest story internationally was for the year?
Yeah, America has definitely changed where it used to be all politics is local to become all politics is global. And so anytime you talk about the U.S. debt, we're talking about China and international relations and all this other kind of stuff. But internationally, I think the biggest story is it's the mask off on anti-Semitism. It's been a total psyop with conservative influencers and sadly some Republicans taking the Qatar, Turkey, Iran bait in defending the Hamas attack on Israel's October 7th, murder, the rape, the kidnapping. What it did was open the eyes of folks to see how much money Qatar and the Islamic world have been pumping into our colleges in America that gave rise to the Summer of Love 2.0 on campuses with their Jew hatred. Just a few years ago, Israel was our biggest ally for my entire lifetime, and all of a sudden they get attacked, respond with overwhelming force, and take out Hezbollah in the north and Hamas to the west, a little terrorist outpost in their own country, be like, if Huntsville all of a sudden decided to take out, all the rest of Alabama. And overnight, the world becomes pro-Hamas and anti-Netanyahu. Very weird until you look into the money behind it and see the richest country on earth, Qatar, is buying influence in America, splitting us on the right. I think it won't work. But it plays into so much from Somalia and Pakistani immigration fraud and charities and China trade and even my data centers concerns, moving in on farms and waterways really could be the final battle the Bible tells us about for Christianity. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a good one. You're right, because I had said that the biggest story internationally is probably Trump bombing the Iranian nuclear facility or Trump actually negotiating a peace deal, at least a ceasefire kind of peace deal between Hamas and Israel. But you're right. What's really happened, too, is just the mask has been off on anti-Semitism, and a lot of that really started after October 7th. So that definitely is up there. Okay, I want to move on to, you're out of Tennessee, so I'll ask you that first. What do you think the biggest story in Tennessee was for the year? In
Tennessee, I think hashtag Make Memphis Matter is the winner. Senator Brent Taylor got all the Republican leaders, Jack Johnson and Governor Lee, to actually come to Memphis, about 4 hours from the state capital by car, which is Nashville, and to see for themselves how bad it was. You know, he went to D.C. and testified, and FBI Director Kash Patel came and called it the crime capital of the country. So he launched this Operation Viper this summer, and they arrested like 4,000 plus bad guys. And I went there myself to see right before Christmas, and yep, it felt safe. I mean, he did it. He deserves to take that fossil Steve Cohen, the only Democrat from Tennessee in Congress's seat, and take it to the whole state and maybe country. All the lives saved, all the businesses and tourist dollars Memphis can now enjoy to pay for services like potholes and clean streets. It's a Phoenix Rising story if they don't blow it, and that is possible. All the Dems came out screaming against him because he is a Republican in a very blue little island of Tennessee, and Trump sending in the National Guard, which they screamed and yelled about in L.A., but they could point to Memphis and say, look, it works. So they actually look foolish. But like Alabama, we'll talk about, you know, Shelby County has a DA that's very soft on crime. Nashville does too. Steve Mulroy, and Nashville's Glenn Funk, they act like Seattle or Chicago DAs that want crime in the streets, I guess. But I think the biggest story in Tennessee is that being strict on crime works. And if they did that in Chattanooga and in Knoxville and in Nashville as well, this would be the safest state in the country, if not the world, versus what it was earlier in the year, as bad as Bangladesh.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. That is definitely a huge story. And in fact, you know, on a related note, I read this from the New York Post. Apparently, murders in the U.S. in 2025 down some 20%. Could be the biggest drop ever in U.S. history. And I think a lot of that is because of the tough on crime policies of President Trump, including that Memphis Safe Task Force. So I think that's a big deal. Now, moving on to Alabama.
By the way, that and proving the story that I broke, I think, on your show, that the gap between what they were reporting to the FBI in these police departments and the true crime, that was revealed to be bogus too. So once we had real numbers and we could really prove that Memphis was one of the worst, fixing the worst, that numbers had to come down nationally because it's not as bad in, you know, Huntsville.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So what do you think in Alabama is the biggest story of the year?
This one is interesting, and you certainly won't hear this on the evening news. So there's going to be a new governor in Alabama. Will be good, especially such a fighter as, say, Coach Tommy. The only guy I've seen pointing out the Islamic extremism in America is a problem, but nobody is talking about a trial that just started there for a guy named Damian McDaniel. Do you know this story? 23-year-old man from Fairfield, Alabama.
I don't think I do. So, yeah, enlighten me.
Okay, so after allegedly murdering 18 people, 18, that's called a serial killer.
Yeah.
He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of attempted murder in 2019 and was sentenced to 15 years. So my math says he shouldn't be out until 2034. But he got 13 years suspended. 2 months later, he was out killing at the Trendsetter Lounge and Hush Lounge 5 Point South. His pops is also currently serving a 26-year sentence for federal drug and weapons-related offenses, was rearrested in October 2024. So every suspect is black, and every deceased victim was also black. Birmingham Mayor Woodfin, who is black, he lost a brother to gun violence, and he witnessed his sister being shot. He called it behavior so brazen and violent that he needed to be all the way off our streets. So this is a person who was hell-bent on literally hurting people and taking lives, the mayor said. So Jefferson County, which has a black population of over 40%, homicide spiked from 531 in 2013 to a staggering 942 in 2023. The data further shows that gun violence remains the leading cause of death in Jefferson County, followed by drugs, opioids in particular. Heart disease is like a distant fourth. So like everywhere in the country, it's the liberal judge that gave them early release. We need to clean up that. right? So Judge David Carpenter frequently posts literally, this is his quotes, politically charged pro-Democrat messages on X, most recently expressing his support for President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. He has described himself as a liberal trash, quote unquote. I'm liberal trash too, and I'm your worst nightmare. I'm an elected official, a far-left, liberal, progressive, democratic, socialist, white, quote, traitor to his race, end quote, native Alabamian on X. You can see it in February. Sums it up very nicely, and in the reddest of red Alabama, where 18 people didn't have to die but did. That's the biggest story in Alabama, in my opinion.
You know, that I'm definitely going to have to look more into that and talk about that. Now, it doesn't surprise me when you talk about Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin. And unfortunately, yeah, Alabama is a very deep red state, but you have the pockets, like in a lot of red states, where you have the liberal cities, the liberal mayors, the liberal DAs, and you have real problems. And Alabama still has pretty big problems in Birmingham and Montgomery when it comes to that. So that, that doesn't, unfortunately, that's very shocking. The extent of that's very shocking, but then you find out some of the details and it's like, it's the same things we've talked about before. Now, speaking with Steve Abramowitz, he's the founder of the Heartland Journal. Before you go, Steve, I want to get your thought on one more thing. I think the biggest mistake of the year, at least politically, for me, it would have to be Pam Bondi saying she has the files on her desk, the Epstein files, and she's ready to declassify them. I think that ended up being probably the biggest political mistake because it wasn't too long after that she was like, oh, we don't have all of that and we can't release all of that. But would you agree with me?
Oh, yeah. It was a total unforced error. You and I talked about before Trump even was sworn in that his number one pick in the cabinet was going to have to be Attorney General. And it turns out it's actually NSA, which is Tulsi Gabbard. And so Pam has just been this complete black hole. That's all I can say. But I do understand that it takes time to make a case. There's all this infighting, and so the press is going to love the idea that Dan Bongino is going to quit or that Kash Patel is paying, taxpayer money to fly his girlfriend around. But there's still time, right? She still has a job. I think we talked about this last week. So for 2026, some of what they've done has actually opened the Pandora's box to what we now know. So I'm looking into if all this fraud and the fake storefront daycares that's now been found in every state, Ohio, Minnesota, Seattle, Alabama, Tennessee, you name it, being some of the worst and most operated by Somali immigrants arriving here in the Biden years, might also be into the trafficking and kidnapping of our kids. So if we can dismantle that, we've really done something amazing because trafficking has become the world's largest business in dollar volume, or overtaking drugs. So it truly is a scourge and a pandemic. If we can disrupt the distribution channel, assuming that's one of the biggest, we'd finally be doing something, these daycares. I've yet to find that connection, by the way, but I'm digging into it because nobody else is yet. But it sure is convenient that there are there in Ohio is one of the biggest areas for trafficking children. Memphis was, but for now it's cracked down. Seattle's another biggie where I come from. Blue cities where defund the police was most popular, and a lot of white kids have gone missing. So if Pam Bondi's Department of Justice, including the FBI, can be responsible for that, and if you look at their Twitter feeds, they sure are taking credit for it, it could all be part of the bigger picture, because making a RICO case has always been, you start with the low-lying guys and gals, get them to flip on the higher-ups, and you get all the way up to the mob boss, so to speak. So if this is that, we won't know until the end, and the books are written 10 years from now. That would be awesome, and Pam Bondi would have all of my support. But if none of that happens, and we're just left dangling thinking that's the problem, and nobody goes to jail and no crimes are stopped, then yes, she will be the biggest failure at the Department of Justice since Jeff Sessions.
Steve Abramowitz, he's with the Heartland Journal. You can read his stuff at heartlandjournal.com. Steve, appreciate you coming on. Hope you have a good new year. We'll talk to you again next year.
Happy New Year, everybody. See you soon.
All right, there you go. If you want to react to that, you can. We have our text line, 866-494-9866. We'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
Hey y'all, it's Lainey Wilson. St. Jude gives kids with cancer the chance they deserve. Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food. But we can't help these kids without you.
This holiday, help St. Jude find more cures for more children. Donate now at musicgives.org.
Hey there, I'm Paula Pant, host of the Afford Anything podcast. I help people make the smartest money decisions possible because let's face it, money's too important to wing it. From investing strategies to economic trends to savvy travel, lifestyle design, and beyond, we're in this journey to financial independence together. Remember, you can afford anything, just not everything. So, afford anything. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Back here on the Yaffee program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you're with us. Okay, so I've gone over what I think is the top story nationally, the Charlie Kirk assassination, and the response, of course, especially from Erica Kirk. The top story internationally, a peace deal between Hamas and Israel. So let's go over the top story in Alabama. And to me, it's got to be the election, or not the election, even though he's going to be elected. It's got to be Tommy Tuberville deciding to run for governor. It's got to be. And in fact, I went ahead and grabbed the clip when he made the announcement, which has become a commercial. Go ahead and play the Tuberville cut for me, Walker.
Here in Alabama, y'all know me as Coach. But in Washington, they know me as something entirely different. President Trump calls me one of his closest allies.
Wonderful man, a friend of mine, Senator Tommy Tuberville.
Democrats call me the biggest pain in their butts. And the woke radicals? As a God-fearing Christian, I just can't repeat it. But after 4 years in Washington, standing up to the corrupt Biden administration, I think it's time Montgomery got to know me a little bit better, too. As your next governor, I'll fight for President Trump's America First agenda. Stop illegal immigration dead in its tracks and protect our conservative values. After doing all that, the enemies of Alabama are going to call me a lot of things. With your help, governor will be one of them.
All right, there you go. I think that definitely is the biggest story in Alabama because it shook up the race for the Senate. It forced out Will Ainsworth, who everyone thought was going to be the next governor for years. And what it's going to do for the state is going to be pretty big, I think. By the way, what's pretty big, the sales going on right now at Jay's Appliance Outlet. Huge sales on the best brands when it comes to appliances. So if you need a new refrigerator, washer and dryer, whatever it is, they can service any appliance as well. Go to Jay's Appliance Outlet in Athens. You can find out more on their website, jaysapplianceal.com. Great deals for the new year at Jay's Appliance Outlet. Go today, tell them Yaffee sent you.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN. The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Second hour now of the Yaffee Program right here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. If you miss any of the show live, the podcast will be up on the website, WVNN.com. You know who I am by now. You know how the show works. I'm Alabama's voice of reason, Huntsville's conservative conscience. We've been going over the top stories of the year, and I want to do that right now with the legendary Will Hampson. He is the official DC insider of the show. He is joining me on the show right now. Will, how are you today, sir?
Yaffee, doing great. 2025 was a great year for stories, and hoping that 2026 will be equally as good to you as 2025 was.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You're right. There were a lot of good stories, although my top story for the year was not a good story. It was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. There was a silver lining. I talked about that earlier. There was a silver lining that at least Erica Kirk came out, forgave the assassin, And I think a lot of people have been brought to Christ over that. And a lot of people have been brought into the conservative movement over that. But what do you think the biggest story nationally was in 2025?
Yeah, I think a lot of big stuff, Yaffee. I think the return of Donald Trump obviously has been a pretty big deal. Charlie Kirk, a very big deal. So, I think a big news year here. And lest we forget, I think for the prosperity of our country, closing down the southern border in 2025 was a pretty big deal as well.
Yeah, in terms of political achievements, I would probably say, closing down the border. The only other one I could possibly think of is the Big Beautiful Bill. Did pass. That was a pretty big legislative achievement. Most of the accomplishments, though, the Trump administration have probably been through executive order, which says a lot about Trump, but also says a lot about Congress and not codifying his executive orders.
Yeah, I think that's the state of our government right now, Yaffee. We don't act. There is not a lot going on as far as Congress. And so I think that's it's what you're going to see, and I unfortunately think that will be a story of 2026 as well.
Oh, really? Because I know some people have tried to make it a priority, but you just don't think it's going to happen.
No, I have very little faith. I would expect a lot more of the same, but I would expect a little bit more complaining about it this year. So we have that to look forward to.
Oh, great. Okay. So the top story nationally, you had a lot of good examples there. What do you about internationally? What do you think was the biggest story of 2025 internationally?
That's a great question, Yaffee. I wish you would have given me a little bit more time to think about some of these things instead of putting me on the spot here.
Oh, come on. You're supposed to be a pro. You're the official DC insider. You're supposed to be ready to go, but that's all right. That's all right. I understand.
Listen, there's a reason that you're the star of the show, and everyone else comes and goes, but you stay there with all.
Do you
the
want
big
multiple
stuff going
choice?
On, but, I would love, give me a little help here.
Well, I'll tell you what mine was. I think the biggest story internationally was President Trump getting a peace deal, a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. And I think a part of that, too, was Trump deciding to bomb the Iranian nuclear facility. So those two, I think, got to top the list. There are other examples, I think, but what about those?
Yeah, no, really good ones. I think obviously the peace deal in Gaza is a pretty big deal when you think about the players there and how little they have been able to come together over the years. I also think a lot with China. I think we were on the precipice of major conflict with China coming out of the Biden administration, and that's cooled down a little bit, which I think is a really good thing. So I think a lot of the trade. A lot of the trade deals, particularly the tariffs on China, I think have been really good for American manufacturing and American businesses. So a lot of, I think, certainly secondary to the ones you listed, but also a lot of major accomplishments on that front.
All right, I got to move on to Alabama then. Do you want multiple choice for this? The biggest story in Alabama for the year? Do you need multiple choice for this?
Yeah, give me some multiple choice, Yaffee. This is good. I like you help me out a little bit here.
All right, so mine was Tommy Tuberville deciding to run for governor. And I think that is because it threw a wrench in terms of a Senate race. You have people now running for the Senate. You almost had Paul Feinbaum and Bruce Pearl running for the Senate. You also had Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth, who everyone thought was going to be the next governor. I mean, now he's out. He decided not to run. I mean, just kind of a shoo-in. You have Doug Jones back in the mix there. So that's one example. Some other examples in Alabama, I think some big crime issues in Montgomery still. You had the Max unit, which helped, but then you had a mass shooting in Montgomery. So that's definitely been one of the big ones. I'd have to think about some other ones, but what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I personally think that Will Ainsworth deciding to stay out so far, as he still is as of this moment, Yaffee, staying out of anything, I think has really changed the landscape of Alabama politics. I think personally, even more so than Tommy Tuberville deciding to run for governor. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, how a lot of that plays out. But one of the heaviest hitters in our state deciding to kind of sit this cycle out is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and that's because of Tuberville, right? I mean, he just decided he was not going to be able to win against Tuberville.
Yes and no. I think if Will Ainsworth still, as of right now, decided to run for the Senate, I think there is zero doubt he wins. I think he frankly, I think he kind of runs away with it. So I think him deciding to sit it out has opened a lot of doors for a lot of other people. I think that there are some people that have made some moves based on Ainsworth not being in any of those races, and so I think it's a pretty big deal.
Okay, this next one, it should be a gimme. I shouldn't have to give you multiple choice. If I have to, you have to let me know. But what would you say the biggest story in Huntsville is?
Obviously, I would love some multiple choice here, but I will answer this one before the multiple choice. Obviously, Space Command has been a pretty big deal. And again, I think we all kind of saw it coming, but it's good to have it happen. Obviously, President Trump made that decision in his first administration. A lot of our members of Congress and Senate, and even here in Huntsville, our delegation in the state House, the state Senate, our mayor, obviously a big collaborative effort, but a pretty big deal that Space Command is coming back to Huntsville, and hopefully for good this time. I've told everybody I will believe it when I see some dirt being moved. Once they finally, start to get that process underway, but things are looking good. So I think obviously a really good thing for Huntsville, and deservedly so.
Speaking with the legendary Will Hampson, he is the official DC insider of the show. Okay, I got another one for you. Might need multiple choice, but what do you think the biggest story in Tennessee was for the year?
That's a good question. I think obviously Marsha Blackburn.
Okay, that's
some moves to come back home is a big deal for the state of Tennessee. And if she were to win, has a lot of implications on who gets appointed to that Senate seat, and go from there. So I think pretty big for the state of Tennessee, and probably similar to the state of Alabama, makes it a little less of an exciting deal than it would have otherwise been. I know some of these races, it's sometimes better for us to talk about, a lot more fun if there's a little bit more palace intrigue, but obviously a pretty big deal when a sitting United States Senator decides to come home and run for governor.
That's a good one. I was thinking about that one. The other one I think is Memphis Safe Task Force, being able to clean up crime, and this is really because of Donald Trump, but clean up the crime in Memphis, which was, one of the worst cities in the country when it came to crime. I think that's definitely a big deal, too.
Absolutely. And Yaffee, Memphis is a great city. It really is. It's a shame that a lot of these great American cities have been plagued by the issues that they have. You go and you look, San Francisco, one of America's most beautiful cities, all across the country, Chicago. There are some really, really great American cities that are in need of rescue, and so it's good to see that the Trump administration has taken the first steps towards cleaning up some of those cities. Because again, hopefully, what we're seeing in Washington D.C., it's night and day. It is a completely different city since Trump sent in the National Guard. It's an incredible place now to come visit. You see a lot more, school kids and school trips, and just everything vibrant. Flourishing city, and I hope that a lot of our other great American cities are able to experience the same thing.
All right, now I got to ask you about our other state, Georgia, the other neighboring state. What do you think the biggest story was in Georgia this year?
Biggest story in the state of Georgia, Yaffee, I think would be 300-some thousand votes in the 2020 election being processed fraudulently, which obviously not only impacted who won the state of Georgia in the 2020 presidential race, but also gave another Senate seat to Democrats and to John Ossoff. So, I think when you look at that, pretty big deal. and obviously a lot of incompetence has to happen from Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Obviously, Governor Kemp, I think this is going to be a pretty major stain on his legacy when you look at his time, his 8 years as governor. A big deal. The election was fraudulently stolen, and I think that's a pretty major story that we've seen come out. But as is usually the case, Yaffee, it's only about 5 years late, and I'm sure we won't see anything come from it. But pretty major story there in the state of Georgia.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I thought maybe you would go with Marjorie Taylor Greene deciding not to run again and resigning from Congress and all the implications there. And of course, earlier this year, deciding not to run for the Senate or for governor, and then her feud with Trump. That's another good one in Georgia.
Oh, absolutely. Major story. Marjorie, has what an arc we've seen from Marjorie over the last, 4 or 5 years, coming into prominence, and then quite a fall from grace. But I would put a stolen election slightly ahead of Marjorie, but I think Marjorie has been quite a story for us here this year.
The legendary Will Hampson, the official D.C. insider of the show. Anything we missed? Will, you think? We went over a lot over 2025?
I don't think we missed anything, thanks to the multiple choice, thanks to a great host. And Yaffee, always appreciate the chance to come on. Thanks for everything this year, and Happy New Year to everyone out there.
All right, Happy New Year to you as well. I'll talk to you again next year. All right, we'll be back in a moment here on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
Hi, I'm Drew Barrymore, and I want to tell you how you can help to support the life-saving work of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. When you give, you're helping ensure families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food, so they can focus on helping their child live. This holiday, help St. Jude give children the greatest gift, a chance at a lifetime.
This holiday, help St. Jude find more cures for more children. Donate now at musicgives.org.
Welcome to Next Row. I'm your host, Vernon Davis. Okay, y'all, thank you. That's enough. Please welcome Ryan Sickler.
There's nothing that's made me feel better at my worst than laughing. It's changed my whole life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Char Jackson. Would you rather an Oscar and make $5 million or no Oscar and make $50 million?
Give me that Oscar.
Oh, my goodness.
Next Roll isn't about what's next. It's about why they do it.
That's powerful, man.
Next Roll with Vernon Davis. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
All right, good to be back with you on the Yaffee program. Even though it was no work a day December, it has been yes work Yaff-cember. Has it been working? I'd like to tell you it's just because I love doing this, which I do love doing this, but it's also because I ran out of vacation days. So there is that. So we talked a little bit about it in the last segment with the legendary Will Hampson, but the top story for Huntsville of the year. There are some other good stories, but I think most people would agree the fact that it is official that the Space Command headquarters is coming to Huntsville. It is coming to Redstone Arsenal. I would also add a part of that would be the Golden Dome missile defense program that's really been pushed by President Trump. A lot of implications for Huntsville in that as well. So I went ahead and grabbed just kind of a reminder when this happened earlier this year, of course, but I grabbed the cut of President Donald Trump, making the announcement that, yes, the permanent headquarters for Space Command is officially coming back to Huntsville. Play the Trump Space Command cut for me.
So I want to thank you all for being here for this important announcement, 7 years in the making. As you know, this has been going on for a long period of time, and I am thrilled to report that the U.S. Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City. Okay, so Huntsville, Alabama, we love Alabama.
So there you go. And it was interesting at the time to see the entire Alabama congressional delegation there. And of course, they're all competing to get in the video with Trump. So you had Congressman Barry Moore. He's running for the U.S. Senate. He wants to use that in an ad Congressman Dale Strong out of Huntsville. He's been a big part of that. So it became a big issue because you remember President Joe Biden decided to reverse it and just keep it in Colorado for partisan political reasons, even though all the reports said it made sense to put it in Huntsville. What's really interesting about this, too, I know someone who works with a lot of people at Redstone Arsenal, and she pointed something out to me that's interesting. There are actually a lot of people that work at the Colorado Space Command who wanted it to move to Huntsville. So one of the arguments is that, it's very inconvenient for the workers to have to move from Colorado to Huntsville. But actually having Space Command in Colorado was more inconvenient for a lot of those workers and a lot of those families. That's because a lot of the workers, they spend a lot of time in Florida at the Space Coast, at Cape Canaveral, because that's where all the, you're not launching rockets or whatever. You're not launching that in Colorado. You're launching that from Florida. Well, it's a much shorter trip. It's still kind of a long trip, but it's a much shorter and easier trip to go from Huntsville to the coast of Florida than it is to go from Colorado to the coast of Florida. So they were like, yes, we would much prefer it be in Huntsville because we spend a lot of time in Florida and we would rather spend the rest of the time in Huntsville instead of going back and forth from Colorado to Florida. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So just another reason that it made sense to put it in Huntsville. But you had a GAO report that came out earlier this year that said, yes, Huntsville makes sense. And it was just obvious Biden, because he didn't like Alabama, it's mostly Republican, didn't like Trump made the decision, decided he was just going to keep it in Colorado, and just some of the higher-ups in Colorado thought it was a great idea. It was not. It makes total sense for it to come to Huntsville, Alabama. Now, if you have any other stories, maybe out of Huntsville, that you think pretty big deal, you could tell me on our text line, the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. I mean, the biggest story out of Huntsville every year is really just the amount of growth. And that's related to Space Command. You also have the Eli Lilly facility that's coming to Huntsville. That's a huge deal. And just all of the apartments they're building, all of the houses they're building, all of the growth in Huntsville, in Madison, in the surrounding areas, in Athens. I mean, Athens is, I think that area is I think Limestone County was like the fastest growing county in the state. So those are big stories out of this area as well. But maybe you have something that I missed. Tell me on the text line, 866-494-9866. All right, we'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program. What's Trending with Walker is next.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
I am back here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you're with me. I know we're still in Crimbo. Is that what Emily called it during Dale's show? It's the limbo time between Christmas and New Year's where just everything seems out of whack. But I know many of you, like me, you're working. So I'm glad you're able to join the show today. I'm also glad that Walker is here today. And this is going to be the first time she ever does this. So it should be pretty cool. It's time now for What's Trending with Walker.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
You guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Yes, and What's Trending is brought to you by Coleman Furniture Market because they always have the latest trending in furniture and they always have the best deals. And starting today, they have some amazing deals. Let me tell you about it. First, you get 10% off your first item. Now, if you buy in the store, you get an extra 5% off your purchase. You can also save 20% off on rugs, lamps, accent tables, wall art, and accessories. Oh, and check this out. You get a free adjustable base with any premium mattress purchase. I mean, what more do I need to tell you? If you need new furniture or you need a new mattress and a new adjustable base, go to Coleman Furniture Market today, located in the heart of Coleman, Alabama. You can find out more about the deals on their website, ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. And if you want to see the latest stuff, go to the Facebook page. They always post good pictures of all their stuff. Their showroom is gigantic, as you know. Go like the Coleman Furniture Market Facebook page. Follow them on Instagram as well at Coleman Furniture Market. Go to the store, save some money, get some great furniture. When you do, let them know Yaffee sent you. All right, Walker, I know we're going to go over maybe the top trending stories of the year. So what's number 5 today?
Number 5 is the Coldplay kiss.
You know, I almost thought about this. So just so people know, the kiss you're talking about was when, was it a CEO or an executive?
CEO.
Yeah, and another woman, they were caught on a candid camera kind of kissing and dancing. And, yeah, they're not married. They're both married to other people. Yeah, so that, and the world saw it. And I almost thought maybe this is the biggest mistake of the year, because that is a big mistake. So I think that's probably a good number 5. I think there was a recent interview. I don't know if you've ever seen any interviews or something from her. I think there was a recent interview with her talking about how this really affected her life. And I want to say she is staying in her marriage.
Oh, wow.
If I'm wrong about that. I mean, if you were with someone and you saw them cheat with millions of people to see, would you stay with them, Walker?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. What's number 4, you think? Top trending stories?
The Cracker Barrel logo changing and then going back.
Yeah. The changing Cracker Barrel logo and then going. What did you think about that whole? Do you even like Cracker Barrel, Emily?
Oh, I like Cracker Barrel. It's a very nostalgic place to go. When it comes to the logo, I think people made a bigger deal out of it than it should have been. But one thing that I do not like is how they're changing the interior.
Yeah, because you're right. There were really 2 parts of that story. There was the logo itself, which I guess it was still supposed to be a barrel, but you could, barely tell.
Yeah.
But then the other part of it was the interior, where they were trying to make it, I don't know, look more modern.
Yeah, and like bright and stuff. And it's like, no, I want all this stuff on the walls and to feel like I'm cozy. Like that's what Cracker Barrel does for you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if they were smart, they would hire, Sam Elliott or some guy with a really deep Western voice to do commercials and just make it seem as nostalgic as possible.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, make it seem like you're going home for Thanksgiving or something and they're cooking you a warm meal. They should play it up. It's almost like we'll make it more modern. Cracker Barrel modern doesn't make sense.
No.
Have you ever bought anything at Cracker Barrel, like in the gift shop?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I got one of my favorite sweaters from Cracker Barrel.
And you still have it?
Yeah.
What's the sweater?
It is a cat playing with yarn.
Okay. Yeah, that is very Cracker Barrel. What's funny is my brother found a toy microwave for my daughter Evie at Cracker Barrel and bought her a toy microwave, which she loves.
Interesting.
So it doesn't heat up, but it turns on and spins.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a great toy, and Evie loves it. And it's just funny that we found it at Cracker Barrel, of all places.
Now I'm thinking about Easy Bake Ovens, and I really miss those.
Did you have one?
I did. I think I had 2.
Did it work?
It did.
I always wondered. We never had one growing up. I always wondered, does it actually work? Did it actually heat the stuff up? Was it good?
I mean, you could only cook one cookie at a time, but it worked, and I thought, as a kid, I thought it was pretty good.
Okay. You almost want to get one now?
Yeah,
cook with it now?
Just to experience it again.
I have to look into it. I guess they still sell them, I would assume. I don't know. I'll have to see if Evie would like something like that. All right, what is the number 3 trending story of the year?
Sydney Sweeney American Eagle jeans commercial.
Oh, I almost forgot about that one. That is a good one. I couldn't believe the deal the world made because she said,
I
said
have
Sydney
good genes.
Good genes. And the fact that we took that and made it about Nazism, white supremacy, eugenics, it just really shows how social media has screwed up our lives in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was obvious that they just meant that she is a very pretty woman.
Exactly. And nobody denied. Yeah, it wasn't because of her race. It's not like she's pretty because she's white. It's just, yes, Sydney Sweeney is beautiful. And that's the end. And you should buy jeans because you'll look beautiful too in America. Did you ever wear American Eagle stuff?
I don't think so, but I remember it being very popular in middle school.
Okay, yeah, because I wore it when I was in high school. That was one of the brands that you wore. Like it was and I had American Eagle stuff. And it's funny because you go in there now and it's definitely still like geared toward teenagers. Like if you're like me, I'm 39 years old. I feel very funny if I go in American Eagle. Like I don't even think they make like stuff for 30. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I remember that was one of the most popular brands when I was in high school, I think. So, all right, what is number 2 in terms of the top trending stories?
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's engagement.
Oh, that's not number 1. There was a part of me thought maybe you would make that number 1, but you think that's number 2.
Well, honestly, I wanted to save number 1 to just be some general honorable mentions.
Oh, okay. Okay. So technically this is number 1. And then for number 1, we'll go over honorable mentions.
Yeah, I think too many people would be upset if I didn't say that it's basically number 1.
Okay. Okay. So do you think it works? Do you think they get married? Do you think it all works out for Taylor Swift?
I certainly hope it does.
Does the music change because of it, you think?
I think they're going to be happier and, not about breakups anymore.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, is it going to be as good? I mean, does she go back to country? I think she goes back to country. That is my prediction.
I could see that happening.
Are you a fan of her music at all?
I am a fan of her music, but I don't really follow celebrities like a lot of people my age do.
Mm-hmm.
I just like it when it comes on, but I don't necessarily seek it out.
Okay, so you listen to the radio or something and it comes on, you're like, oh, it's a good song.
Yeah.
By Taylor Swift. Can you name me a song? I'm sure I've heard several of her songs. I can't name you a title of a song.
The most recent one I like is The Fate of Ophelia.
Okay. I'll have to look it up. I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm sure, because you hear her songs all the time. I'm sure I've heard it. But if you tell me a title or something, the only title I know of hers was the Eras Tour.
Okay.
That's the only I know that's a title of something. Other than that, but she started out as a country artist, right?
Yes, she did.
And this is what totally popped. But she's like a billionaire. So it sounds like that was a good move for her. Okay, so for number 1, then, we're going through the honorable mentions.
Yes. TikTok got banned for about 12 hours. And
that's a good one.
People threw a fit.
I forgot about that. And now it looks like, I guess, there is an American company that's going to buy it, even though I have no idea if that's going to work out.
Yeah, and then Labubu's were everywhere.
Labubu's? You mean it wasn't just Bugsy?
Not just Bugsy, no.
Do you have any?
I do not have any. I get my feel of it from the 2 she has here at the studio.
That stare at you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally staring at me.
They're judging you. If you mess up, they judge you, I think. The Labubus.
Yes.
It's funny having a conversation with my mom about Labubus because she listens and she's like, what is a Labubu? So I have to tell my mom, try to explain what a Labubu is to my mom.
Yeah, I don't really get it at all.
It's just weird. It's just one of those things that's weird. So it's cool because it's weird.
Yes.
That's all it is. What else?
Okay, some people might hate me for this. I hope not too many kids react to this, but 6'7".
Oh, the stupid 6. I still don't even understand it. Well, somebody told me where it came from.
I'm pretty sure it started with a video of some kid at a basketball game, and the scores were 6-7.
Oh, and they're just like, everyone's like, 6-7.
Yeah.
Is it still a thing? Is it still like going on?
I still see a few videos of it, but it's one of those things that I'll be very happy when it dies off.
It just fades away.
It made me feel old because I had no idea what it was from. I did not get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I think that was the point, though. The point was you either got it or you didn't. You were old if you didn't get it or something.
The last thing I remember tons of people talking about is 100 men versus 1 gorilla.
Oh, yeah, the 100-man versus gorilla. They even made AI videos of like what that would look like. And it was really weird. It was. I still think a lot of times it would be hard for 100 men. The 100 men would really have to work together.
Yes, they
Put
would.
it that way. There would have to be a dedicated plan because it is scary how strong gorillas are.
Yes.
But yeah, that kind of died. That must have been earlier this year because I haven't heard about that in a while.
Yeah, I do think it was more like springish when it started.
Did you ever? It reminds me. Well, I don't know if this was this year or maybe the year before. It kind of reminds me too of how would you rather run into a man if you were lost in the woods?
Yeah,
would you rather run into a man or a bear?
Yeah, I think that was last year. I remember seeing that a lot.
And I think like most women said a bear.
Yeah.
Was that it? Instead of a man lost in the woods? And I think it showed something about just human nature and the difference between men and women.
Yes.
And just how they have to think. And Dale, I remember Dale was so like shocked by that. He just couldn't believe women say that. He's like, no, you want to be run into a man? And people had said a bear. That's so funny. So is that it? Is that the list? The top trending stories?
I had K-pop Demon Hunters on here, but
that's a good one.
I haven't watched it, but I do love the music that I've heard from it.
So I've actually seen a lot of it. Steffi watched it. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not my cup of tea really, but I can understand why it's popular.
Yeah, I have friends whose kids dressed up as characters for Christmas. I mean, Halloween.
Yeah, for Christmas. Maybe they did for Christmas too. Yeah, I mean, really, one reason too is just the movie industry did not do very well this past year, and that was like an example of one that actually did well. I think it's the most streamed movie the most streamed thing on Netflix ever.
Is it a movie? I thought it was a show.
No, it's a movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a couple hours. Yeah, you would think it's a show because of all the different songs. No, it's a movie, but yeah, kids love it. My daughter's a little too young, so she's not into that. She's still in the Bluey phase, of course.
Okay.
But that's a good one. The Netflix trying to buy Warner Brothers, that's probably a big story as well.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah,
if we were going trending stories. Okay. Well, Walker, I appreciate it. Wrapping up the year with the top trending stories of the year. I think it was a pretty good list. I would have to say I give it an A+, that list. All right, we'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
Hi, I'm Drew Barrymore, and I want to tell you how you can help to support the life-saving work of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. When you give, you're helping ensure families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food, so they can focus on helping their child live. This holiday, help St. Jude give children the greatest gift, a chance at a lifetime.
This holiday, help St. Jude find more cures for more children. Donate now at musicgives.org.
Get ready for The Rush with Max Crosby.
You already know what time it is.
All-pro defensive end Max Crosby takes you beyond the field with exclusive insights, real stories from inside the locker room.
You could literally see us laughing, kind of chirping back and forth.
This is The Rush. Buckle up.
We talk about The Rush on The Rush all the time.
Don't miss the behind-the-scenes moments and interviews everyone's talking about.
We appreciate you guys. We're going to keep feeding you all the content.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Here we go.
Oh, wow. Final segment of the Yaffee program for the year. I mean, we'll have best ofs playing, but my final segment for you guys for 2025. Then we're into 2026. You know, earlier on in the show, I was talking about the top national story, which I believe is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The top international story, which I believe is the peace deal between Israel and Hamas. The top Alabama story, which to me anyway, is Tommy Tuberville running for governor. The top Huntsville story, pretty obvious. Space Command headquarters officially coming to Huntsville, permanent location. And I realized I did not go over, well, I said it in some of the interviews, but I wanted to give you an example of what I think was one of the biggest mistakes by someone in the Trump administration in 2025. It's got to be Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. And when she said this, if you can, Walker, play the Pam Bondi cut I sent you.
Yeah, I saw your appearance at CPAC with Ben and with Ted Cruz. And one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, she said the files are on my desk. So she has asked, hey, you have like the client list? She says, yes, we'll be declassifying it. The files are on my desk to review. And then shortly after that, they had to backtrack and said they didn't really want to release anything, and the investigation was closed. And then, of course, that led to all kinds of conspiracy theories. That led to the propaganda press saying that Trump is a part in the files and he's just trying to cover it up and everything else. So I would say that's the biggest mistake. Now, in terms of the biggest economic story of 2025, it really has to be AI and the development of AI and how that's really having an effect on the economy. But I think the other thing as well would be Trump announcing the Liberation Day tariffs. That was a big one. I would almost call that a mistake. That really threw a wrench in the economy. The economy was set up to do much better under Trump generally. And to me, that threw a big wrench in things. But I think next year economically, even though a lot of people are worried about the economy, I think it's actually going to do pretty well. Could be wrong, but that's what I think. Appreciate you listening to the show today. Appreciate you listening to the show of the year. If you missed any of the show, the podcast is up. I really hope you all have a happy new year, and we'll talk to you again. Thanks to Walker for producing as well. See you guys again next time.
The Yaffee Program.
Hey, everybody, I'm Michael Strahan, and St. Jude has been close to my heart for many years. Their groundbreaking research is changing how the world treats childhood cancer and has helped push the survival rate in the U.S. from 20% to more than 80%. Please help St. Jude give children the greatest gift, a chance at a lifetime.
This holiday, help St. Jude find more cures for more children. Donate now at musicgives.org.